I thought I'd do like this little final one because I'm trying to stick to my word. I'm trying to do what I say I'm gonna do instead of just going off. No script, nothing. I'm going to explain to you the philosophy why I don't think criminals deserve to be in mental health facilities that have committed crimes versus their mental health diagnosis. Let's say you have bipolar, or you have something like schizophrenia, or you have these different conditions that you have, right? Where mental health facilities should be for those that have been induced by drug psychosis, which they did not choose to go into psychosis, they just had a drug psychosis. People that are suicidal, people that are having post traumatic stress disorder, and people that are actually chronically suffering with real issues. The Australian public system, for whatever reason, I believe, is running out of room. Is running out of room in jailhouses, prisons, and jails, essentially. So what's ended up happening is that they've taken all these criminals saying, we don't know what to do, we don't have enough space. And what they've ended up doing is they've sent these people saying, you have a mental health disorder, you can get off with some time, just take this drug, be in this mental health facility, and just stay there, right? Which is not proper. It's not proper science. It makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. So the reason why this affected me so terribly is because at that point in my life, I didn't have enough money. I needed a place where I could say that my mental health was not doing well and I needed to be in a stable state to be able to talk to someone. Instead, I'm associating with psychopaths and sociopaths, right? And that's just a mixed bag, and I didn't deal with it too well. And I'm autistic, so like, let's be honest, like you put an autistic and you put like a psychopath in the same area, and you're not female, the psychopath will look at you and say, right, you're logical. Why don't we just, well, how about I use you and I get like information out of you and I can use you because you're useful to me, right? Other examples, if they were female, someone that was female and they were autistic, more or less a psychopath on the male spectrum would, including even if it was like, I'm saying cross, like, opposite genders. Oh, you're cute. Why don't I take advantage of you? Same deal, but different kind of predatory response. Like, oh, I can take care of you. This happened before in a public, in a, it happened before in a private institution where I met two psychopaths. One that was well cared for in his environment, so he had money and he had power, so he had information, versus somebody else that was just an alcoholic, a low functioning tier psychopath, right? And I don't want to get off track with this, but they operate differently, completely differently. I can't deal with psychopaths in my life. Psychopaths are essentially like black holes, or criminals that become psychos or they become sociopaths. They're like black holes. They suck the life out of you. They suck everything out of it. They suck all the joy and the good feelings. It feels good because you can get some energy out, right? And they give you energy back as they spiral around and that energy gets sent back to you, right? Like you're a star. Imagine yourself as a star, but you're dealing with all these low, no emotional black holes that are just sucking the life out of you. This can be like for borderline. This can also be for like bipolar during it's a personality antisocial type. Anyway, with the private system, you find a lot of low functioning psychopaths in there, right? And I needed that at that time. But the problem realistically is that the system has failed me. The system, it's given me money to survive. No one's listened to my emotional needs ever. My mother was the only one to listen to my emotional needs. Oh, you're so smart. You can do things. You're very clever. Yeah, of course, I can do these things. Oh, you're so clever. But my emotional needs and the things that I emotionally want, because I do have emotions, have been siphoned away from me from these people that are like just predatorial, and I have no emotions left. It's completely just vanished. Putting that back then in a really bad state, and I'm trying the best I can not to go back into the past, but I'm trying to elaborate what's wrong with the mental health system, is the fact that after this little event occurred in 2013, I made a big mistake. Then I felt like committing suicide. Then I got put into another mental health facility. You see, the problem wasn't dealt with on the spot. Same thing when I saw another psychiatrist. At the very beginning, if we go back all the way to the beginning, a psychiatrist saw me, named Dr. McLaren. I showed him my blood work. I said I had an infection. This is the reason why I'm anxious. He said I'm anxious for different reasons. Correct, but directing me away from what I considered to be the problem. Right? I don't want to work with that guy. I never want to work with a psychiatrist. If I go down to a doctor and I say, I have an infection, or I have this issue, or I have that issue, what I expect them to do is say, let's do some scans, let's check things out, and let's make a conclusion about what happened. Instead, being sent off to a psychiatrist because I smoked weed, right? Which I hope that the field develops, and people that just smoke weed aren't just automatically sent to a mental health facility, or they're not sent off to a mental health doctor. I hope the practice does change, because if you smoke weed, it doesn't automatically mean that you have mental health issues where you have to get off weed. Doesn't mean that you're just trying to cope, right? Cope, hope, whatever the fuck you're trying to do, right? Anyway, so the pattern begins to emerge. The fuck up. Then, suicidal tendencies. Medication. No one really listens. You know what I'm saying? And then the ambulance calls start happening 200 times per year. This isn't my fault. It's not my fault. I can lose weight. I can get fit. I can study. I can move up in the world. I can do these things. But because now that I know, and now I know that these mental health hospitals and these facilities and these doctors and these nurses do not care about mental health, and they care about their paycheck. Now I know that if this happens again, or when I warn anyone in the future that has stumbled across my videos, that if you don't solve your own problems and you rely on a system, and you don't rely on an individual, but you rely on a title name to save you, you are doomed to fail. All that money that I've wasted on hospital trips, all of that money that I've wasted, that could have been spent into buying a new car, that could have been spent into moving out, that could have been spent into productively using my life, because I trusted in someone. I trusted someone. I trusted someone, and they betrayed me. I'm not saying I'm victim, I'm just saying I'm stupid for doing that. So I shouldn't let that happen again. But all of these little hospital trips that, and being back and forth, and my heart rate going 200 beats per minute, and then in the same position, and then I'm back in the same mental health facility saying I have a chronic anxiety problem? No. There is an underlying issue that's causing the anxiety. There is an underlying issue that causes the anxiety, and then you throw me through a loophole that makes the anxiety worse. Then I can't function, and then you throw me out into society, and then you say, you can't deal with this, and then you'll come back to me. That's how this operates. So then I'm now associating with people with anxiety, which don't do it. Find someone normal to talk to. Please, dear God, do that. And this whole thing This entire thing is because I had a plan, I failed on that plan, but because the risk was massive, trusting a shaman that was into spiritual poetry and was into different types of eternal realities and wasn't into the science of what pot could do, the different strains from indica to sativa, although he knew a little bit, the different molecules that are in these substances. He wasn't into the science, and I wanted this weed because it helps me sleep. It puts me straight to sleep, and it keeps me asleep. But this spiritual guy had a look at me way, way, way back, and I'm sorry I'm disorganized, but this spiritual guy, and he's like, you just want to feel good, don't you? You just want to run away from your pain. No, I wanted the weed to fall asleep. I don't try and enhance my mood by smoking a joint and listening to Linkin Park and drawing and painting. No. That's not what happens. What happens is I smoke this substance at 9 o'clock in the night, and I am asleep by 9:45, and then I can wake up at 6 o'clock. And now I'm disorganized, and I'm telling you these things, and I hope someone can put this shit together, because what I'm trying to say overall is I was betrayed, and then I relied on the government to help me. I relied on people that were in psychiatry to aid me. But did they aid me? No. What ended up happening is they gave me drugs that made it worse, that made me do bad behaviors, that made me feel suicidal, and then I was seeing more and more psychiatrists because I didn't work on myself. I didn't know myself, and this is the reason for why I'm 29 and I'm still stuck in this state. This is the reason why. And all I've tried to explain to my subscribers, the ones that kept coming back, you're fat, you're obese, you don't go outside, you don't exercise. Fair fucking point, Mr. American. Fair fucking point. Fair point, Mr. American. Fair point that you can have your gun, you can have your dog, you can have your fucking property, you can do what you want. You can have your weed, you can pay your taxes, you can do what you want. Mr. American, you have your rights. As an Australian, I don't have any rights. I have to smile and lie and fucking tell people I like them when I don't. I have to fake my emotions every single fucking day. When all I want to do is have my gun, my dog, my fucking rights, my weed. Then, if I have those things, which I have to work on getting those things. But listen. If you have those things, and you don't know what it's like to live in Australia, you don't know what it's like to be harassed by the police, what it's like to be told how to obey, to submit, to run through these different fucking problems you can't solve because someone else has the power, then I suggest you fucking shut your fucking mouth and move on to someone that's morbidly fucking obese, that lives in your country and fucks up on a constantly daily basis, and leave me the fuck alone!